This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Excited to be back with Bend Your Nutrition. That's right. Megan Basl joining us here again live. We're talking today more about gut health, about mood, about so much. And she's here with her virtual nutrition practice based out of Sublimity, Oregon. She's helped serving clients near and far. And as a former food junkie, she really can empathize with what you're going through. And boy, oh boy, her journey of learning everything about nutrition and even holistically, she brings you so much knowledge, wisdom, and she's helping so many. So how's that for an introduction? Okay.
Oh, thank you. That was very nice.
But you have to tell me in your own words, for those that may not know, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do before we get into today's topic of conversation, please.
Well, thank you. So I am a functional nutritionist, which means I help people get to the root cause of their chronic health issues.
Okay.
And I specialize in digestive issues and food sensitivities, but really I can work with any health condition, but that's my passion. And that's what I really love to help people with.
Perfect. And for today, I know you were talking a little bit about gut, the gut connection, mood connection. Can you share a little bit about today's topic?
Yeah, so what I want to talk about today is the connection between gut health and our mood.
Okay.
People may not know this, or they might, but there's a gut-brain connection. And that means that the gut and the brain communicate back and forth via what we call the gut-brain axis.
Okay.
And so this involves chemical messengers, things like hormones and neurotransmitters, and also something called the vagus nerve. Have you heard of the vagus
I've
nerve
heard of the
before?
vagus nerve. Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Where is it specifically?
So it actually is at the base of our brainstem, and it goes through our chest and down into our abdomen. So it's part of the autonomic nervous system, and that
Mhm.
regulates our body's involuntary functions day to day. So it's part of what we call the parasympathetic nervous system, which we
Yep.
actually think of as our rest and digest
Mhm.
response. So it regulates things like your heart rate, your breathing, and is involved in digestion. So it's a really important part of that gut-brain connection, and really can be activated when we do things like deep breathing. So with clients, sometimes I'll say, okay, do some deep breathing before you eat, because that is going to put you in that rest and digest state.
Sure is. And what type of breathing should we be doing, by the way?
Well, one of my favorites is a 3-4-5 breathing. So you breathe in for 3 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, and then you breathe out for 5 seconds.
Ah, all right. Thank you for that. Now,
Yeah.
as I'm thinking about doing that, I'm like, how am I going to do this? Keep in connection with my gut. Okay, so we're going to talk about some bacteria in our gut, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you're saying it impacts us overall. So first and foremost, people might not even be familiar with our gut and what's going on in the gut. What do we have in our gut?
Yeah, so there are trillions of bacteria in our gut, and those guys produce chemicals that can impact our mood. And I like to think of the gut as kind of like a garden. So
Mm-hmm.
if we have flowers and weeds in our garden, we definitely want more flowers than weeds. Like a few weeds, that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But if we have too many weeds, then that overtakes the flowers. And so when people have too many weeds in their gut garden, they can have symptoms like constipation, gas, bloating, diarrhea, and feel really uncomfortable. And it can be other symptoms as well, but those are kind of the main digestive
Yep.
symptoms. But it can be skin issues, joint pain, headaches, so on and so forth. So really, we want to have a balanced gut microbiome. And so one of the reasons it can affect mood is because those bacteria help with something called serotonin. So
Mm-hmm.
serotonin is actually our feel-good hormone,
Okay.
and about 90% of serotonin is actually made in our gut, which is
Really?
crazy. Yeah.
Ooh.
So serotonin actually is involved in memory, happiness, regulating body temperature, our sleep, our hunger. Um, so it's really important. And when we feel, or when our body's producing enough serotonin,
Yeah.
we can feel things like being more focused, being calm, feeling happy. We sleep good. So that's really important. Now, if we don't have enough serotonin, we may feel anxious or depressed,
Yeah.
or not sleep good, or have other mood issues. And so, people that come to me that struggle with depression and anxiety, it could be certainly an imbalance in their gut.
Oh my gosh. And oh my, what are some of the signs and symptoms? Something's not going to go with our gut. Is it pain,
It could be
bloating?
so many things. Yeah. Yeah. The classics are kind of the abdominal pain, like you said. A lot of people struggle with constipation. Some people have diarrhea. Some people have mixed, like some days they're constipated, some days they have diarrhea. Um, and then bloating can be a big one for people. But a lot of it is the pain, I'd say, the bloating, and then the actual digestive issues with constipation and diarrhea. Those are
Oh,
kind of the big ones.
and it's affecting our mood.
Yes, yes. There's even another hormone that's produced in the gut, another one of our feel-good hormones called dopamine. I'm
Okay.
sure you've heard of dopamine.
I've heard of dopamine.
Yeah, so about 50% of the body's dopamine is actually in the gut as well. And
Oh,
so anything we love or we're excited about, that actually is our going to release dopamine in our body. So it's like the reward system, and innately we're wired to do things that give us pleasure, right? Um, so if we think about like our favorite vacation we went on or our favorite sweet treat,
ah,
the body's going to release dopamine. And so that is a
yeah.
huge part of our gut health as well. And that's one of the reasons, honestly, why sugar is so addictive, because dopamine is released when we eat foods that taste good, or taste sweet. So it's kind of not our fault that we like sugar, because we're getting those feel good hormones from it.
Oh my gosh, I can't. I can't. I'm getting hungry though, and I'm getting weirded out because my stomach hurt. I ate something bad last night. I ate
Oh
potato.
no.
Well, I ate potato chips. Guilty, right? I ate a lot of potato chips, so it's my own fault. But my stomach is killing me today, and
Oh
it makes
no.
me say, why didn't I just have a few? I had to have more. I think that we always kind of overeat, and a lot of that does happen to a lot of us. But anyway, back to the schedule of conversation. I apologize. I still don't have your notes sent to me yet, so please, I just want to make sure we're covering everything. If you don't mind going down the list on your
Yeah,
end,
no.
thank you.
No, I'm great. When people have the right amounts of dopamine, they can feel happier, feel motivated, alert, and focused. With low levels, they may feel unhappy, unmotivated, fatigue, and some people have attention deficit disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, when they don't have enough of that dopamine. So again, going back to the gut, if someone is struggling with ADD or ADHD,
Mm-hmm.
it really could be an issue in their gut. Their gut is not balanced, and we need to figure out why. And that's my job, is to figure out, why is your gut not balanced? So as you can see, having a healthy gut microbiome affects hormones, and our mood. And so when people have that compromised gut microbiome, they may feel depressed, more tired, more anxious, in addition to having those digestive symptoms. And also, like, stress can impact our mood. As we know, the body will release something called cortisol, which is a hormone, and stress in general will create more stress, because if we're stressed, the body, the gut, is going to be stressed, which then can create
Yep.
inflammation in the body. And then when our gut is stressed, what happens? What did we just learn? More mood issues, more stress. So it's definitely this connection, and almost a vicious cycle, if you will. But it can definitely be corrected.
And tell us how.
Well, so what I do is I use a stool test to help people correct their gut. And
Okay.
what I do is I have them take this test at home. They send it back to the lab. The lab sends it to me, and then we go over the results together. And so I come up with a customized protocol based on these imbalances. and determine, what we need to do going forward. And a lot of times that is modifying the diet and then also using supplements to help the body kind of correct itself. So if there's gut imbalances like yeast overgrowth or parasites or bacterial overgrowth, too many weeds in the garden, right? We talked about that. Then we want to balance that out, usually with herbal support. And so that there's specific herbs that can help kind of attack or balance the gut microbiome. And so we'll use those to do that. And then we want to heal the gut. And so doing all of that together is going to give this person, individual, whoever they are, a sense of how it feels to have good gut health. And so we do that for about 3 to 6 months, depending. And then we usually do a retest and see if we got everything back into balance. And that will depend on how the person feels. And if they're still feeling not optimum yet, then we'll do that retest and see what else might be in there that's going on. And, it can take time for the gut to heal. It took me a long time to heal my gut. And so people just have to be patient, but to know that it's worth it and it will pay off. But it may take some time with supplements and dietary modifications to get there.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for this. And if you are just tuning in, we're here with our gut expert. Yay, Megan. And she's the owner of Bend Your Nutrition. And again, she's working with people all over. She's from Oregon, but she's really helping people all over struggling, right, with a lot of these type of uncomfortable symptoms that we're dealing with. But I love this because she's using tests and these digestive tests in a sense for, for foods, chemical sensitivities and all that. By the way, you will actually provide to them, right? You ship them to their house, and then how does the process work and how long? Just curious to get back the results that we're looking for.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the test, once I order it, it gets shipped to them usually within about a week. And then they'll do the test at home. There is some prep ahead of time, like, if someone's taking antibiotics, we need to be off those for 2 weeks before doing the test. Ideally, no NSAIDs, anti-inflammatory medications, because that can shift the anti-inflammatory markers in the test. So we want those to be accurate. So ideally, none of those before at least for 2 weeks. And then if someone's taking current supplements, most of them are fine. But if they're taking any herbals or antimicrobial supplements, then we want to go off those for 2 weeks. So there's a bit of prep work ahead. So depending on if they're doing that, they may be able to do the test right away, or they may have to wait that 2-week period. And then the results usually come back anywhere from 7 to 10 days. And then it takes me a couple days to review everything and write up my protocol. And then we go over that virtually if people are distance clients, or in person if people are local. And I go over their plan with them and give them a guide to follow. And then they get their supplements ordered if that's part of the plan, and get started on their program.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And what else
Yeah.
did you want to share for today? Again, I apologize. I still don't have your
No, that's
information. So
okay. That's
please, you're
okay.
guiding yourself. I'm just here for the
Yeah,
ride. No.
no worries, no worries. So we can also talk about how diet impacts our mood. So we have too much sugar, right? And too much sugar is actually going to feed those weeds in our garden. And so we don't want to feed the weeds. A little sugar here and there isn't the end of the world, but really when people, we don't realize how much sugar is in everything, and it is in everything. And so too much of that during the day, throughout your week, that's really going to impact those weeds in the garden. And we want to have lots of pretty flowers in the garden. So minimizing sugar is important. Remember, if we have too many weeds, that's going to impact our mood, right? That serotonin, that dopamine. Processed foods. So a lot of packaged processed foods aren't going to support our gut health, and are going to feed the weeds. Too much alcohol also can
Feed the
feed the
weeds.
weeds.
Yep.
Yep. Too many refined carbohydrates, things like white flour products. So, cookies, crackers,
Oh,
pastries, chips. Those things can feed the weeds and also disrupt blood sugar, and that can disrupt our mood as well, if our blood sugar is out of balance. And then people that aren't eating a lot of vegetables, that can, again, the vegetables, We've talked about this, I think, in a previous episode, but the vegetables feed the flowers, and we want to have lots of pretty flowers. And so if you're not eating enough vegetables, then that balance of weeds to flowers isn't going to be optimum. So we really want to make sure we're getting enough vegetables and then enough fiber in general to help support those flowers and help us have a good mood.
And where do we get the best fiber from? What vegetables?
Really, I mean, any vegetable is going to be important. I always tell people eat the rainbow. So the more color, the more variety, the better, because you're getting different types of fiber from those different vegetables, and then you're also getting different nutrients from those different colors. And so the more variety, the better. And ideally, I tell people to half to three-quarters of their plate should ideally be vegetables. And most of that should come from your low starchy or low carbohydrate veggies.
Got it.
So those are the ones that grow above the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so things like, cauliflower, broccoli, bell peppers, cucumbers, tomatoes, leafy greens, your lettuces, collard greens, Swiss chard, so on and so forth. Those are going to be your low starch, low carb veggies. And so those are what you want to have most of. And then the starchy ones are the ones that grow below the ground. So things like potatoes and beets and carrots. Those are still all healthful, but we just don't want those to be the majority of what we're eating all the time. So
Um,
any of those are going to have good fiber.
do you suggest at any point now people have heard about cleanse, right? Like
Mhm.
doing a full body cleanse. Is that any good for us? Is that dangerous, or is that something you suggest to help get the gut biome better? So,
Yeah. Yeah, I do a cleanse with clients a couple times a year. Doing a good cleanse once or twice a year is not a bad thing. Just cleansing the liver, getting toxins out of the body. Some people have digestive issues. A cleanse may not be the best option for them, but some people, after doing a cleanse, end up having better bowel movements if they're constipated because they're getting all the gunk out. Um, but at the same time, if someone is constipated, they really shouldn't be doing a cleanse, because when you do a cleanse,
yeah.
part of getting out the toxins is through pooping. So if they don't poop and they do a cleanse, they're going to recirculate those toxins and feel like crap. So really, you want to have daily bowel movements before you do a cleanse so you can make sure that you're getting those toxins out, because it's just going to be counterproductive in a way if you're going to feel worse.
And we should be having daily bowel movements. Is that true? Because I
Yeah.
don't. As a female, I don't know if it's just me, but it's every 2 or 3 days. That's not good.
Yeah, that's your norm, which, in conventional medicine, some docs would say if that's your norm, that's normal. In my
But
world, I think ideally at least once a day, because those toxins are recirculating. You think about it, where the poop's just sitting in there, right? And so
mm-hmm.
um, we want to get those toxins out. And yes, so ideally at least once a day. I have clients sometimes that go 2 to 3 times a day, but it's normal bowel movements. If someone has like multiple bowel movements a day and they're not formed and soft, but they're like liquid or runny, that's not necessarily quote unquote healthy either. So there's a poop scale that we look
Yeah.
at, and
Mm-hmm.
we really want it to be like soft and formed and come out easy, no straining. And so you can kind of, sometimes I'll show clients that scale and say, okay, show me where your poop is so we can see and have
Yeah.
something to track. Because some people think, well, I go 3 times a day, but it's mushy. That's not necessarily quote unquote normal. So we kind
Mm-hmm.
of work through that and figure out what's going on.
Great. What else is in store for us today, darling?
Well, I want to talk about a case study that I have. One of my previous clients, so she was in her 30s. Um, some of her symptoms, she had fibromyalgia, which fibromyalgia is kind of the
Uh,
diagnosis that's given to you when
mm-hmm.
they don't know what's wrong with you, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she had some depression and was on antidepressants. She was having a hard time getting out of bed just because of the pain that she was having
Yeah.
from the fibromyalgia. She wasn't able to exercise, which is unfortunate because she wanted to. She had a hard time picking up her kiddo because her back hurt so much. She also had bowel issues like constipation and bloating and some hormone imbalances. She was also going to go see specialists for her fibromyalgia because she was in so much pain. But then she decided to work with me. And initially we worked on her diet because that's where she wanted to start. She really didn't want to do any of the lab testing, which is fine. There's a lot that we can do with
Yeah.
changing the diet. She noticed some improvements, but still had symptoms. So we finally decided to do a stool test and a food sensitivity test. Her results came back, and she did have a lot of weeds in her garden. And she had some intestinal inflammation, and her gut immunity was actively fighting something. So that something could be food sensitivities. It could be the GI imbalances that were in her gut, the weeds. And so what
Yeah.
we did is we started on supplements and removed the sensitive foods from her diet for 3 to 4 months. And we retested her stool to see what improvements we had made. She actually had a lot more gut imbalances show up, which was like really discouraging for her. But
But
and it can feel sad. But what I tell people is we've kind of stirred up some dust. So now we have new microbes that were probably hiding out. And so it's actually a good thing when they're exposed because now we know we can go after them. And she admitted at that time that she wasn't feeling 100% yet. She was better, but she still wasn't feeling 100%. So I knew based on those test results and her symptoms that we still had work to do. And so we did another protocol for 3 months on supplements. And once she finished, we reintroduced her food sensitivities, and she was actually feeling great. She had regular bowel movements. She lost weight. She got off of her antidepressants. Her
okay.
pain and energy improved, and she was starting to exercise again, and she was feeling thrilled. So really that shows you like how powerful
It
correcting the gut. I
does.
mean, she was going to go see specialists for the
Mm-hmm.
fibro and was able to get off of that track in her life and have a totally different life just from correcting the gut.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, we still got 4 more minutes left in your show. What else did you want to make sure we're covering for today?
Um, I would say, if people are afraid to work on their gut, as I mentioned a minute ago, we can start with the diet. Like I can do coaching around food prior to doing testing. And some people aren't ready to dive into tests. And, if I have clients come to me and they have a really disrupted gut, I
Mm-hmm.
may say, I think testing would be a good option for you. But if they are eating very poorly, I might start with food first. And so we can do that. And, it can feel daunting to change your diet and to change habits, but we can start with baby steps and see if you've noticed a shift in your symptoms. And I've had clients where they have worked on their food and, oh my gosh, their bloating is better. And, oh, they don't have that abdominal pain anymore. But for other people, it's just too deep rooted and we really need to figure it out. And we kind of talk about with food, it's a longer route, right? We're
Yeah.
kind of taking the scenic route. And that's okay. But with testing, we're very targeted and we're taking the shorter path. And so we know exactly what's going on in the body and we can handle it then because we know exactly what we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even with testing, like part of that is food sensitivities, right? Like if we do elimination diets
Yep.
and we eliminate the kind of big offenders like gluten and dairy and sugar, and we can feel better. But if we still don't feel better, it could be something as simple as blueberries, right? Like blueberries are great. They're full of antioxidants, fiber, and that could be something you're sensitive to that's also contributing to those gut imbalances. And
Wow.
so we don't realize that, but that is where the testing is going to tell us, what other imbalances do you have going on? And that could be food sensitivities that are creating inflammation and not allowing the gut to heal. And so again, there's so much that we can do with the diet, but if you're sensitive to something that you eat all the time that is actually healthy, then you
Yeah.
don't know.
It's
You
so
don't
true.
know.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here for enlightening us, Megan. How can we contact you?
You can reach me on my website, bendyournutrition.com, or via email at megan@bendyournutrition.com.
Perfect. Thank you. And on social media, how can we find you?
I am on Facebook and Instagram, Bend Your Nutrition. And yeah, I think that's the only socials I have.
Perfect. We'll see you soon. Thanks for today's topic and looking forward to the next time. Thanks again.
Yes, thank you so much.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.